I am joined now on the line by Professor Dario, absolutely amazing, founder of the very first hip-hop band. And the band's name was Stetsasonic, very, very well known, I suppose, as an old school rap band, but also, I suppose it's quite a feat engineering a hip-hop band, or is it? Good morning to you, Professor.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's very, very early in the morning where you are, isn't it?
Yes, it's about 6.
Oh my goodness! So I'm kind of in trouble with you now, Professor Dario, for losing all your beauty sleep.
No, it's okay. I'll get some more.
You're not angry about that, are you?
No, I'm not. I'm not angry at all.
That's good. That is good. Maybe you don't need any more beauty sleep. Maybe you're like me. Do you think you're beautiful enough already?
I don't know. I never looked at myself as beautiful, so I don't know. Somebody else will have to say that.
Oh. Well, come here anyway. So very, very nice to talk to you this morning. And I know you're going to be coming over this direction. You're in New York, isn't that right, at the moment?
I'll say that one more time.
You're in New York at the moment. Is that where you are?
Oh yeah, I'm in New York. Yeah, we're in New York because we all leave from New York, and
right.
We're gonna be doing rehearsals. We've been here doing rehearsals before we leave to go out to Helmand.
Right. So you're actually going over to Holland, to the Netherlands this weekend, where you're going to be doing a few different things. You're going to be giving a talk, isn't that right?
Oh yeah, I'm going to be giving a talk at a school on Friday. And then we have a show, so I do a talk at a school on Friday in Amsterdam proper, and then we have a show in Helmand on Saturday.
Right, and Helmand is a town that's about half an hour, I think, away from Eindhoven, and they're running this brilliant, absolutely brilliant old school hip-hop festival. So it's just all these massive kind of old school acts, and of course yourselves will be performing with your original hip-hop group Stetsasonic as well, yes, who would be very, very well known, and so all you guys now are together as in New York at the minute, all practicing away.
Yeah, we all here in New York. Most of the guys live in New York. 2 of us live out of town. I don't live here, and neither does Wise. So Wise comes in, and I come in. So right. Both of us.
And it must be kind of nice to get together, is it, again?
Oh, yeah. It's a lot of fun getting with the guys, and, we always come up with ideas. And, I'm recording, so, of course, I'm trying to nudge them to do something new for Stetsasonic as well. Right.
I know. And actually, you've just released a new album. It's absolutely brilliant, called From My Hood to You. Really loving it, and really, really smooth and catchy as well. Kind of lots of really beautiful hooks, and some really beautiful videos actually as well. Whoever did your filming, amazing work there on the music video. So I really did enjoy them, and so the band doesn't really get together that often. Sure, they don't. Stetsasonic, they don't really perform together very much.
No, we haven't. We've been doing about a show or 2 a year. This show is kind of the kickoff for probably a much longer European run. So we're just kind of pulling those dates together now. Possibly some more this year, but definitely starting January, we'll be doing some more dates.
Oh, right. So,
yeah, we all have kind of individual things that we do. But as of late, we've really been, thinking about getting back together and doing a lot more things together. So it's been a lot of fun, kind of regrouping and just putting the plan together. That's been fun. Okay,
you're coming up with your own master plan, are you?
Oh yeah.
Everyone needs a master plan. They do really. But I suppose in a way it was kind of nice. Like, you're kind of all off doing things in different directions, and then now you get to kind of regroup with I guess with new skills.
Well, I think sometimes with new skills, and I think sometimes the beauty of it is that we it's almost like a remembrance of sort. Because sometimes you don't remember even how good you are, right? I mean, that you record things and you put stuff on record, and there was a time that we toured all the time. So getting back together, you notice certain things. You say, "Wow, man, this was really good." Like yesterday when we were in rehearsal, and I was saying one of my lyrics, and I was like, "Wow, that's pretty good." It's been a long time since I did that song. So long time since I recited that song. I was like, "Wow, that's pretty good." And so that part is really fun because it's like
right.
I don't know, like some type of recollection, but it's really fun.
Right. And come here, so tell us, so all the gang now, they're all getting very excited, I'm sure, now to be heading off. It must be kind of exciting to be kind of all heading off, together.
Oh yeah, it's very exciting. And then whenever you perform, there's always some excitement about performing because the type of band that we are is even when we're on tour full time, we pretty much change up the show every night. So there might be songs that we do, but there's always something new. There's always something fresh that we're gonna do. So some of the newer things that we're doing, we're real excited about because they're things that we never did before.
Right.
But it feels really good. So we want to put together a really powerful show for the Netherlands. And we want to give people like a glimpse of like what's to come in terms of us and performance.
Right. Well, I know there's a very excited group of people from Belfast who will be all travelling over to Amsterdam. Yeah. And a big shout out there from Jeff Allen, who is listening from Bulgaria with himself and Lorraine Hempel are listening in from Bulgaria to the show this morning, and said to say a big hello and very much looking forward now to meeting you. So it's
that's my man. Jeff is my man. That's my guy.
So it's the BCB, the Belfast City Breakers, and actually your group at the time, Stetsasonic, had a massive, and you in particular, a massive effect on them. Like they were all kind of growing up here in the Troubles, right. Everyone killing each other. I don't know whether you realise, and you were kind of this kind of happy place, that they all used to kind of look at.
Right.
You were kind of the unicorn, the dream, and they meanwhile all the bombs and all going off here, everyone killing each other, I mean, it's maybe you forget like the kind of effect that your music had on people, many years ago.
Individually, I think we do forget. Individually, I never forget the overall impact of hip hop. That's one of the things that it always stays with me, and even as I lecture and all of those things, I always speak about it because hip hop has always, especially internationally, been a bright light for people. Just because of the culture that it came out of when we started making music. A lot of it came out of kids that was impoverished, kids, like just kids from the neighborhood that wanted to say something, and the music that was around them wasn't really saying what they wanted to hear, so we were making it. So I never really forget about the overall impact of hip-hop, but I confess that sometimes you don't think about yourself. I do think about hip-hop overall, but sometimes I don't think about myself individually. So sometimes I'm reminded, different people will remind me, hey, man, I listened to you when I was a kid, or hey, man, I grew up on your music, and it always feels good to hear those stories.
Right, I'm sure it does, especially as kind of life goes on, and you're kind of, I mean, even though I suppose you're really famous and everything too, you must get kind of moments, kind of, talking heads kind of moments where you go, where am I in my life? What am I doing? Where did it? Just moments of kind of what am I doing now? But I suppose you're kind of now launching into another part of your life now. Anyway, with your solo projects. As Professor Daddy-O. With this new album, From My Hood to You. So it'd be nice to kind of have both, wouldn't it? To be still with kind of Stetsasonic as well, still doing stuff, get the boys revved up, to do more, and also have your other musical side, as well.
That's been the plan for me all along, because as I do music, especially in my stature, right? So, there really is not many classic hip hop artists making songs today. And it's something that bothers me a lot, because I think about it and I say, wow, there's no real reason to stop making music. Even if you're doing something else, there's no real reason to stop making music. And so for me, I take that very serious, and I'm like, I'm always writing songs. I'm kind of thinking about 3 and 4 albums ahead, and, new things that I want to do. And just shot a video with Smith & Wesson on like 2 days ago. When I get back in New York, before I go back home to Houston, I'm going to shoot another video with R.A. the Rugged Man. Like, I'm always thinking about that, because I know that if classic artists put out fresh material, at some particular point, people will really notice it, and it gives our fans who have been fans of us for long periods of time, like, something new to listen to. And I don't think that that's a bad thing. I think it's a very happy thing. So I think when I do it, it's always some ulterior motive to try to nudge and try to convince and try to relay a message to other artists that they should do the same thing.
Right. I know, because it's probably healthy as well as an artist to do that, because life really isn't all about money, is it? It's not just about making loads of money and then going, I don't need to work anymore. I wonder, like, how happy that makes people feel, when you've kind of, like, what are your goals? Is your only goal to make money?
Right. Yeah, I mean, sometimes you run into and I mean, not me in particular, but you see people run into really, tough places when they do only concentrate on the money. I say this all the time. Most of the time when I'm writing songs nowadays, I'm writing them in a very therapeutic way. I'm kind of saying the things I want to say, getting a few things off my chest, and having fun, doing experimenting. So it's part of my kind of life routine, in addition to everything I sleep, go out, all those things. So, I happen to be a guy that's a rapper, so I'm like, there's no real reason to not rap.
Right.
And that's whether or not I'm selling the records or not selling the records. Like, that's not I do want, it's very much the artist in me, which is why I put together so much visual material. In the very beginning of hip-hop, it was very difficult to do videos because we didn't have, any of the mechanisms we have now. There was no internet. There were no digital cameras. There was none of that. So everybody's shooting on film. That's very expensive. Not too many people knew how to hold a camera. I mean, at this point, very honestly, somebody could shoot a music video on a phone if they know what they're doing. So it's just part of the artistic expression. And when you're an artist, you just have to get those things out. I'm sure painters can, relate to that. I'm sure dancers can relate to that. People who play instruments can relate to that. Sometimes you just have to do art, and it's not about doing the art and having this big monetary result, but just that it makes you happy. And then the happiest medium is when it makes you happy and other people happy at the same time.
Right. Do you know, you're reminding me of a documentary film I saw a few years ago. Where was I? I think it was in Sheffield, in a big documentary film festival. And it was actually by a guy who's based in New York, a guy called Ethan Minsker.
Uh-huh.
And he made this film, and I think it was called Self-Medication, a film about art. And what it was, he was just talking about, about how necessary it is for artists, for himself as an artist, and for other artists to keep making art, because they just have to do it. And actually, if they don't, it's really quite damaging, from their health. And I guess a lot of his stuff was focusing on the visual arts, and sometimes what happens with visual arts is people either do or don't go to college, but a lot of them tend to go to college now, and they're all taught how to do art, and they're all actually taught they're actually taught how to speak in a certain way, how to write in a certain way, how to do their art in a certain way. But anyway, we won't go into that. But they're all taught this and taught how brilliant they are, and then they come out of art college and they can't get a show anywhere. No one can see their art, and they enter this world of curators and all this stuff. And I mean, you can imagine how deeply frustrating and depressing it is, when you're an artist and you can't express yourself, So that's
true. It's true.
That's why I love the beauty, and that's how I kind of got into the hip hop thing through graffiti and street art, because that is, such a beautiful way of allowing self-expression.
Yes, it is. It is. I it's funny. I did. So I record all these albums, right? So I'm always like at least 2 albums ahead. Because, I've pretty much decided that I'm not going to ever stop making albums, right? So, and I did one. It's finished. I think I'll do some more kind of mixing it and thinking about it and, still need to be mixed. But I did an entire project on mental health.
Oh, did you?
And one of the things that we've been talking about, me and my little individual team, is putting together a series of workshops along with that album on mental health. Because one of the things that I realized is that I'm not going to say the top, but in the top register of depression, artists have to be there.
Right.
Because when it's exactly what you just said. Like you spend all this time doing it, you spend all this time making it, you spend all this time dreaming about it, you spend all of this time, and then once it's there, you do want some, most of us, I know I'm at least I'm guilty of it. You do want some recognition. Now, maybe, it depends on what that recognition is. When you're starting to talk about records, it could be you get played on 2 stations or you get played on 20,000 stations. But, most artists, if you only get played on 2 stations, will still smile and say, hey, at least these 2 stations love me and they invited me out and I got to do a show. But when it seems as if no one realizes it, no one appreciates it, I'm sure for most artists that can just be very depressing. And it's just something to really think about, because I thought about it, and I haven't done any statistics study and nothing strategic, but I will. I bet you that artists are in that top percentile of depression.
Oh, they are, and actually, it's funny now. You're actually talking to someone here. I live in the city of Derry, or Londonderry, in Northern Ireland, and we beat records, like, for the number of people who are suffering from depression and all sorts of things. But we have a lot of issues here with mental health in Ireland, actually, and actually in the UK, but particularly this area. Many of which are probably legacy issues from the troubles, the problems we had in Northern Ireland, which now have kind of calmed down to a great extent. I don't know if you would have even heard about the problems in Northern Ireland over there in the States. Would you have?
No, I'm not familiar.
You're not that familiar. Well, we did. We had a lot of problems here. But we can tell you all about them now at the weekend. But those kind of problems with violence, they do leave a real effect, on people growing. I suppose people as they grow up, and then their parents, and it's kind of a vicious circle, passing down problems from one generation to the next. It is. And I mean, like you were talking about as well earlier on this morning about hip hop offering, to a large degree, people a way out of poverty and despair. Like, if you've got this kind of awful, life, everything around you is grim and bleak, isn't it lovely to have something to give you a lift out of
absolutely.
it?
Absolutely. And I really do think most of us, when we began to do this, I really do believe that we thought about that. Like, we thought about how kids could hear this and feel good. I mean, that's, it's all about hip hop in most cases, especially in the very, very, very beginning. All about feeling good, because we started off as a party music. You got to think, we're not making records. We're just kids in the street. We're plugging into light poles. We're bringing equipment and speakers out in the street. And it's about parties. all of hip-hop in the very beginning is about parties. And so once we started doing the recorded medium and we began to do recording artists, we still want people to have fun. We do. And if it's just at a concert or just with a record or I don't know. I mean, however they encounter it, we still want to be that little piece of sunshine for them. People got to go along with their day, and sometimes lives are really tough. And, I am quite sure that internationally it could get really, really tough. So I get it. But we do want to lift people up, so to speak. I think I'm not only speaking about for me and Stetsasonic, but I think most hip-hop artists do want to lift people up.
Right, lift people up and have lots of dancing as well.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's so funny you saying that, right? Because I'll just tell you this part. So when we were rehearsing last night, I came up with this. It's not much, but I came up with this little dance for the entire audience to do. And we're gonna have so much fun with that. Like we were just laughing, but we really, really are gonna do this little thing, and I think it's gonna be a lot of fun because people like to be happy, and when you're talking about international fans, the international fans top the American fans like 5-1, 6-1. They know your music, they love your music. When they come out to have a good time. So it's always been like that for us.
Right.
That's a sign. When we first performed, our first tour was a European run. We went to Amsterdam. We went to a few parts of Germany. We went to a few parts of the UK. So our first, time actually going on the road was not in America.
Right.
It was overseas. Really? Yeah, it was overseas. I always say that. I say, we've had a different path than most of these artists, even the old school artists. Because that's not the reality of like a LL Cool J or Public Enemy. All those guys had local tours way before that. We came back to get on a local tour, but we went out and overseas because as soon as our music came out, those publications like NME and some of those other London publications, they really liked our music. And I think it was because we have the tendency as a band to be a smidgen more musical than most people. Still hip-hop, still doing the break beats and all the hard drums and all of that. But we had a tendency to be a little bit more musical, and I think that internationally they related to that a little more.
Right, isn't that mad? Like, so you were kind of bigger abroad before, you kind of had to make it abroad to a degree, like before.
Right.
It's interesting, isn't it? It's funny. It's just funny the way the world works, isn't it? Sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, for us, we love that part because we got a chance to really. Okay, so one of the things was in America, most of the halls and venues have strict restrictions on time.
Oh. Right.
So most of the halls, when you're doing tours in America, to this day, have 11 p.m. curfews.
Right.
And if you don't stop by 11, the headliner, whoever's the headliner, has to pay time and a half to all the staff that stay.
Right.
So a lot of times in America, you don't get to perform the longer sets. You may be itching to do it, but nobody's going to come to a concert at 5 p.m., they leave at 11.
Right.
So they've got that window, you know what I'm saying, from like 7 to 11. And if you got 5 acts on there, everybody's got to pretty much squeeze in what they're going to do. But overseas, we did a show once, and this is 1988. We did a show at the Paradiso in the Netherlands, and we stayed on stage for 2.5 hours.
Right, brilliant. And it must be great as a performer to do that when you kind of go, God, we're all loving it. We're loving it. They're loving it. Can we all just go on and party more,
Yes.
That's
so
nice.
so I think for us, for Stetsasonic, that's been a real pleasure for us because we really got a chance to learn the skill, and not to say that we didn't know, but we knew it because we always practiced. So we always practice. But we got a chance to learn the skill of performance for real, because when you in an audience in the UK or you in an audience in Germany or in the Netherlands, those people that are in the audience are looking to receive something, and so, it was a pull for us, and we just got to go, let's go. So it's a good. I mean, it brings back the excitement. That's why we're so excited about Saturday because, man, this show that we got prepared. I mean, we've been really working on it really hard.
Right. It's just interesting now you're saying that about the whole idea of performance for your kind of hip hop band and stuff. The fact that you were kind of more, not more, you know what I mean? I'm saying in inverted commas, more accepted over in Europe in terms of live performance and stuff like that. Because it's funny now, speaking to some big graffiti artists who were American graffiti artists, big names, and they said the same. They said, in the States, depending on the state that we're in the States, we can be put in jail for doing graffiti, but we can come over to Europe, and we're actually asked over, and we're paid to perform, as in, do graffiti writing, do, street art and graffiti. And we're kind of fated in Europe. Whereas in America, loads of states, they will actually put you in jail, and there's kind of 3 strikes and you're out kind of style, It's kind of a bit mad. It must be a bit mad to be, for an artist in America, if that's the way, things are. Or maybe it depends on the state, No,
it's America. It's not just the state. I think we go back to that conversation that you and I was having maybe 10 minutes ago about money. And so when the concentration is money, the concept is remove everything that's not going to make money.
Right.
So, let's get rid of everything that's not going to make money. For an artist, that's incredibly hard for us because we may make a hit record. But more than likely, if you speak to anybody that makes music,
right,
most of our favorite songs are not the hits. Mm. My favorite Sonic songs are not the ones that went big. There are other records that's just there on the album.
Right.
And so because, you do different things every time you make a song. Every time you make a song, it's not like you're making the same song all over. You're gonna do something different. You're gonna do something more. So when you're approached by a system that says to you, we really don't want this unless it's gonna make money, that's very, very difficult for an artist. I'll give you an example. When we came over to the UK in '88, we were approached by fans coming out of the airport, and they knew every member of Stetson Sonic. Stetson Sonic happens to be one of those groups, and we're a band, but one of those groups that had a lot of members. Other than somebody like LL Cool J or even Houdini, that there's just 3 of them. EPMD, where it's just 2 guys, and who knows which the DJ. They got scratch at one point, but other times they had other DJs. It was already 6 of us, and then by the time we added the drummer, there was 7. And so we go to the UK, and they know each individual.
Right.
And a lot of times in the US, it wasn't like that.
Right. That's kind of beautiful, though, isn't it? It must be nice for you as a band,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, we love it because, again, I do believe, I don't know if it's egotistical or not. Maybe it's egotistical. Maybe it's not. But artists do want to be noticed. At least for something. Somebody say something. Somebody say, hey, man, this song got me through high school. This song was my favorite song here. Oh, I met my girlfriend, and one of the things we had in common was this song. You know, we want to hear that once in a while. You know, you may not hear it every day. You might only hear it once in your life. But even if you hear it once in your life, you'll cherish it. You know, you'll cherish it for the rest of your life. Say, man, this guy came up to me and said, man, this is a song me and my girlfriend had in common. And it makes you feel good because, you know, you don't know him. He doesn't know you. You go, as an artist, you go all the way back to when you were sitting and where you were sitting when you wrote the song and what happened when you recorded the song. You know, you go back to those things and say, man, can you believe that little song that I was writing at the bus stop ended up being somebody else's favorite song? You know, that's a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing, and it probably the way, like, it's kind of like spreadthekarma.com, you know, because like your song is kind of lifting somebody else's spirits and day or life sometimes, you know, and also then, you know, that recognition sometimes would lift you as an artist, you know. So in a way, it's kind of karma kind of coming around. You know, it's all good. You know, it's all good. And I mean, I remember like when I first heard, you know, your kind of big song from Stetsasonic, talking all that jazz. I was actually laughing listening to the lyrics. You know, they're so graceful, but so clever. And the beats and the music and everything, but I actually was laughing. I thought, God, what an elegant way to address this, you know, this issue. It's really funny. I find it kind of funny, you know, too, but funny but beautiful, you know, as well, too. But I mean, just going back now to some of the core values, I suppose, of hip hop. One of which is, of course, going to be having fun. Sure, what's the point of anything, you know, if you can't have fun? So tell us about some of what you would consider the core values of hip-hop, Professor Daddio.
Well, I think so. Hip-hop has all of these elements, you know, graffiti art, which, you know, sometimes there's arguments in terms of what came first. Me, I possibly do believe graffiti art probably came first, the way I see it in my head. I'm not a kid from the Bronx, so I don't go back as far as Kool Herc in them, but I do probably see it probably was the art. And then somewhere along the line, the DJ and the dancers, they kind of neck and neck because this guy's playing the music and the other people are dancing. And then the rapper came last. You know, the rapper came last. We didn't, in the beginning, and I've done a bunch of studies about this, we didn't know how to rap. We didn't know that we could do it. We did know we could get on the mic and kind of tell people things and, you know, shout people out and talk about the people that were in the party. But I think it took a little while for rappers, and, you know, this is more of a question for Grandmaster Caz or one of them, you know, when the rhythm came in and all of those things. But I think as far as values are concerned, you know, I kind of go back to what Bambaataa and them used to say a long time ago. And they used to say peace, unity, love, and having fun. I mean, one of the things about hip-hop that is not expressed today as much as I think it should is how the beginning of hip-hop was the end of gangs in the Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, and Manhattan. There were gangs. If you look at old movies, there's a movie called The Warriors. There's another movie that's filmed in my neighborhood a long time ago, but it's actually on YouTube. It's called The Education of Sonny Carson. You can see that there was these gangs. All this gang violence was plaguing New York. And these guys came, they made a truce, and out of that truce came these parties. You know, these Kool Herc parties, these Disco Mario parties, and hip-hop was born out of that. So hip-hop was actually born as a movement, you know, as an answer to violence. I have a record on my album now from My Hood to You called Gang Gang, and I talk about it, about how things have kind of switched. And so some of the American acts now, and I've even heard some of the guys in the UK, are talking about Bloods and Crips and talking about being in a gang. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. We were supposed to be ending the whole gang thing. That's kind of how we came in. And so, you know, principally, core values was always unification. It was one thing about the hip hop parties in the beginning, and it happens now, but in the very beginning, it was so multicultural because these are all rebels in a good way. I don't want to call them like unruly kids. It's not that, but these are all rebels. These were kids that was just like, okay, it doesn't matter, it's black, white, Puerto Rican, Indian, it doesn't matter. We're going out to this party, we're going out to this thing because we just don't necessarily agree with what they're feeding us on the radio. So that unity principle was already ingrained in hip-hop. In the very beginning, you see multi-races. I remember when we first started playing, and then we started playing some of these downtown clubs because it was like the punk. It's very interesting. It was the punk rock clubs that gave us all a chance to play. The disco people didn't really like us. The R&B people didn't like us. So it was the people like the Ramones in them that was saying, come play here. Because we understand what you are, because we punk rockers and they don't like us either.
Right, right.
So we there. And I mean, just the variety of people that was at those parties, amazing. So, unity was always a core principle. And then I always speak about this, how in the very beginning, people were really adamant about trying to help you reach your goal. So if there was somebody around that you didn't know, let's just say you're an artist, but you really need somebody to make an album cover for you. If there was somebody around you that knew a guy that was an artist, he would say, Daddy-O, do you know this guy? This guy's a great artist. Hey, man, this is Daddy-O. You guys talk. And the guy would walk away. But now, all of a sudden, I got the guy to do the art. So, so a lot of that was ingrained in the very beginning, and just really kind of keeping it tight because, honestly, it was us against the world. Because it seemed like, besides for the punk rockers, nobody liked us. The radio was like, you guys are not going to be around. Other people were looking at it. You're messing up those records by scratching on those records. Other people are looking at it. You're not real music. And so that's where the unity principle really came in. We had to bond together as a force because we believed it. We knew we were real. We knew we could last. We knew we could do what we're doing today, which is, 30-some-odd years later, Stetsasonic going back into the Netherlands and having a great show. We knew that could happen. But, man, it really felt like us against the world. So unity was part of that core, and then having fun, because if it wasn't fun, we wasn't going to do it. Mm. And we just wasn't going to do it. There's a lot of guys that went from one group to the other. You start talking about guys like Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. Raheem was in the Funky Four first. And, guys moved around in the Bronx until they solidified. Now, I'm sure part of that was, I'm not having fun here. I'm going to go over there and get with those guys. And another guy gets with this guy. And then, even in Stetsasonic, it's so funny, right? Because as a band, we went from just me and Delight, saying, hey, we want to do this thing. And then we grabbed another guy, and it was the three of us. And then we found a DJ. And so now it was us three, and we was the Stetsasonic 3 MCs, and we got this DJ. He did a couple of performances, and then the other guy, his girlfriend decided he was coming to rehearsal too much, so he drops out. So now it's just me and Delight again with a DJ. Then the DJ backs out and says, man, you guys want to rehearse too much, because that's all me and Delight ever wanted to do was practice. And they're like, you want to rehearse too much. And it took time for us to meet Wise and meet Fuquan and meet Prince Paul, later on DBC and Bobby, to really put together what we wanted to put together. But again, I believe that the people that was with us from the beginning, we still buds. Like, they still our friends, but I think they wasn't having fun.
Right.
And I can't fault them for it, but it was very fun to me and Delight. And so we was gonna keep on going and say, oh right. Man, and it took a minute. It really took a minute. But meeting Prince Paul was it was such a blessing meeting Paul, and it was like, oh, man, we got the guy. And then we meet Wise, and Wise is doing all of these incredible beatbox things with his mouth, and we're like, oh, man, we got the guy. And then we meet Fuquan, and Fuquan has this piercing voice that matches with me and my brash self, and Delight with his bass voice. And I'm like, oh, man, we got the guy. And then we meet DBC, through a mutual friend. It was a mutual friend Delight and I had, and said, hey, my brother makes music for rappers. And so we go upstate New York and we meet DBC, and he's got all this equipment, keyboards and drum machines and turntables, and, so all of that. And then, finally, Bobby Simmons was one of my friends for a long time, but, we didn't have a drummer in the group in the beginning. And then one day I was at a club that Bobby actually used to be the backup DJ for DJ Red Alert. And we always would perform at this club. Central Sonic probably performed at this club maybe once every 3 weeks. It wasn't even monthly. Like, it was more frequent than that. And one day we go in to perform, and we had cut Ghost Stetson with live drums. It just wasn't Bobby. It was another friend of me and Delight. And Bobby looks at us and says, well, he looks at me, and he says, Daddy-o, we should bring the drum set out. And it was a club that had just a small stage up top. So there was no room for drums on that stage. And I was like, where are you going to put the drums? And he said, let's put them down on the dance floor. And I was like, okay. And we did it, and it worked so well. And we was like, oh, we got to add the drummer. But all of that is about fun. And, I mean, it's the same thing with me now. I would not record any of these songs if it wasn't about fun. Some things may have a little bit more serious context to them, but I really have to be enjoying what I do. So I think that that nails it. The peace, love, unity, and having fun. I think that's probably the best way to describe the core.
Right, and we want a lot more fun, and actually the sad thing is, like, it's amazing, like you're saying, the whole beginning of hip-hop was really kind of ended everything with the gangs, ended the violence, it was the real antidote. It was the antidote to the violence. And then what happened is, like, the money came in. So you were talking earlier on about that, about money changing things and stuff like that. Ironically now, with the success, I suppose, of hip-hop as a genre, as a musical genre, I think maybe some people's eyes went, oh my God, look, this is actually a big thing. It stopped the gangs.
Right.
Eyes open.
Right.
And then what happens? Then the money gets in, and now what are they doing? There's so much hip-hop now, and rap is actually almost glamorizing, grime.
Oh, yeah.
Not grime, crime, and violence and stuff. And it's really almost the opposite, isn't it,
Yeah, I mean, like I said on that song, I talk about it on Gang Gang. I think you nailed it. I think you really, you hit the hammer on the nail that money, when people decide, making money is a good thing, right? We all got mortgages, rent, we all got to eat, right? So making money is not a bad thing. But when people decide that money is the most important thing, when that gets in the middle, I mean, there's this age-old argument that people talk about, art versus commerce. And, I've worked at record companies. This has always been the big argument, art versus commerce. Because, and for most of them, and I'm just being honest, as corporations, they're going to choose commerce. So the concept is, you can make your art, but if it doesn't bring us money, then we don't want to deal with it. And, that's a very difficult thing, which is why I like the present state of where we are, because now, especially with the internet moving as quickly as it does, and with some of the equipment that we have and all of those things, we can actually make independent music a lot easier than we could in the past. In the past, we were all running around looking for a record deal. Everybody. Because we had no means. Zero. means of putting out a record ourselves. So we needed the machine. We needed a record company. And so, then we had to come up against what the record company was going to talk about. I mean, listen, we love being Stetsasonic. We love the fact that we had a career. But one of the biggest gripes that we have, and I'm talking about every member of this band had with Tommy Boy Records, is that they didn't want to do videos with us. We never had Sally. The song Sally is probably the biggest song that we've ever had in the U.S. And that doesn't work for Europe. Like in Europe, we can't close our show out with Sally. We've got to close our show out with Talking All That Jazz. But here, Sally was a big record. Here, Go Stetzer on the first album was a big record. Tommy Boy refused to give us videos because they were just like, look, I mean, they had a long-standing statement of constantly saying videos don't make money. That's exactly what they kept telling us.
Right.
And that was a hard thing for us because we're watching Run DMC get videos. We're watching Houdini get videos. We're watching Slick Rick and Dougie Fresh get videos, and we're not getting them.
And you're also watching the videos that they've done and going, God, they're brilliant. I really enjoy them. Why can't we make them? Even just as someone with ears who can listen.
Exactly.
And eyes to see.
Yeah. So that argument in music has always been there. I'm sure. I'm not a jazz artist, but I bet you if you talk to a jazz artist, they'll tell you that they had that fight. It's always that art versus commerce. Because now, when you sign to a record label proper, you're really signing to the corporation. Because you know how corporations work. It could be a record label, but owned by a picture company.
Right.
Or owned by a gas company. I mean, it could be whoever bought the ownership of it, right? It could be that. So, it's just. I mean, there's an article that came out about 3 weeks ago about how Death Row Records right now, that Dr. Dre and them was on, is owned by a toy company. I think it's Hasbro owns it because Hasbro is the parent company, right? So when you sign to a label, especially in the past, you're signing to a corporation, and the corporation's thing is always going to be bottom line. What's our bottom line? Right. And so that's a tough thing, but it also makes me so happy for today because there's so much room. That's why I record. I mean, when I'm home, I might record at least 3 songs a week. And if I had more time in between life, I'd probably even do more.
Right.
Because I can. And honestly, I'll be brutally honest. A lot of it is because I can. Later on, they become something, and people do end up playing them, and I do release the album and, get out there and give it to the DJs. But in the very beginning, I'm doing it because I can. Nobody can stop me. I don't have to book a studio the way I used to. I don't have to do anything. I just pull up my equipment, figure it out, and cut the song.
No, and because, again, you're an artist and that's what you do, like that's what you thrive on, that's your blood, is what you do. But come here, it has been so lovely chatting to you this morning now, really nice.
We'll talk more in the Netherlands.
We will talk more in the Netherlands. I will be very well behaved, I have to say, in the Netherlands. You'll probably not even notice me. I will be standing there in the corner. That's having fun quietly in my head.
It's no fun being well behaved. You can let your hair down in the Netherlands.
Oh well, that's good. I think maybe then I will take your advice. So come here. That was lovely chatting to you today. I'm going to just play go out now with a track from your album. A big shout out again from Jeff and Lorraine in Bulgaria. They said looking forward to meeting you and really enjoying the interview as well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Jeff as well.
All right, come here. So lovely chatting to you today, and take care. Good luck, safe flight over, and good luck with the talk.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the Netherlands.
And I'll see you in the Netherlands. Take care now. All the very best. So there you are. That was Professor Daddio, founder of the first hip-hop band Stetsasonic, on with us this morning on the show. Brilliant, brilliant.